Hi there.
Hi, are you Neil?
Yeah.
I'm Kevin Vaughn from 9 News in Denver.
You what?
Kevin Vaughn from 9 News in Denver.
Oh, uh-huh.
Did you happen to get a letter from me last week?
Yeah, I did, yeah.
Yeah, I came to see if you might be willing to talk to me.
Not really.
You think this stuff should be addressed? Do you think it's time this stuff should be addressed?
Pardon me?
Do you think it's time this stuff should be addressed?
To do what?
So as I explained in the letter, you know, I had talked to Michael Smolanik
Yeah,
and
I talked to him.
you talked to him and the family of Stuart Psaki and some others, and
Yeah.
I guess I came to see if you wanted to address the things that they had to say.
Not really that much, I think. It's too many other things involved in that.
I know some of those folks are hoping.
I don't want to get it into especially get it into the news. I don't think is.
Well, I wanted to, before I did a story, I wanted to come down and talk to you and give you the
What
opportunity.
Is it about again?
Oh, it's about my former life.
Before I did a story, I wanted to come down and talk to you and see if you might be willing to listen to my questions and think about addressing them. And I know some of the guys I've talked to, you know, are hoping to hear what you have to say about all that.
Well, if they want to talk to me, they can talk to me. I think. I mean, I talked to Mike, and I would talk to other people. I'm not happy with some of the people of what they've been doing about it.
Like
Whatever that guy that has his own radio station, minister.
Oh, in Denver?
Yeah, can't remember his name now.
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
I think the key question, though, is whether that stuff happened and whether those guys deserve some sort of acknowledgement that it happened.
Well, if they want to talk to me, then I would be glad to talk to them. Okay.
Is there any circumstance under which you'd sit down with me and do an interview?
No, I don't think I really want to, because I really don't want to have that get into a TV station, TV thing, or anything like that.
Let me ask you this. Michael told me that he had talked to you.
Yeah.
And he indicated that you had suggested to him that you had talked to the Archdiocese about this way back in the 1970s. Is that true?
Yeah, someplace diocese talked to me sometime, probably in the early 80s.
Early 80s?
Yeah.
Had they had a complaint or something?
Evidently, yeah. Well, I think all that, Saki's and the guy from the radio station, the minister that.
I think that was much later. I think that was in the 2000s, right?
Well, it may have been, yeah.
Okay.
No, I guess no. The diocese never talked to me until in the 80s, or until.
Michael told me he thought that you had suggested that the diocese had asked you for a list of names, maybe in 1978 or so. Is that?
They may have.
Do you know if there were complaints that far back?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
I don't know.
What do you want people to know about all this?
Pardon me?
What do you want people to know about all this?
Just that if I have done something, I'm very sorry about it, and that's.
Gosh, these things are so long ago.
They are, and I
yeah.
understand that, but I also know that some of these, I call them young men, but they're not young men anymore.
Yeah.
They feel like they've lived with the fallout from these things all these years, and they have never gotten acknowledgement from anybody that it happened, and the church hasn't acknowledged it, and they feel like you haven't acknowledged it. I mean, I know Michael talked to you, but I don't know if anybody else has talked to you. And I think Michael's talked to you, tried to talk to you since then, and he hasn't been able to get a hold of you.
Who's Michael?
He's one of the guys from Florida that called me.
From Florida.
Yeah, he lives in Florida now. He grew up in the Denver area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he talked to me and he said he wanted to talk again, and I called him back and he never acknowledged that I called him back, so I don't know what that is.
Okay, so do you think the Archdiocese had any complaints while you were a priest?
I don't know. No, not while I was not while I was in the priesthood.
You think the complaints came later after you
Yeah.
left the priesthood?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
And like I said, if anybody wants to talk to me, fine, but I don't want to get into going into a story on television or anything like that. I don't think it's, well, it's obviously that's not good for me. And and it's also, although my family knows about it, but to bring it all up and bother them again, and I don't think it's always the best thing for them.
What about the young men? What if they think it's the best thing for them to be able to get it out and publicly talk about it?
Well, if they want to if they need to do it publicly, I don't know the necessity of it being a public thing. I think if they want to talk to me, fine. I talk to Michael. Anybody else I would be glad to talk to. And I would apologize, and that's, I don't know what else I can do. I don't think the best thing to do is just to bring it into a big thing.
It kind of is a big thing, in a lot of places, not just Colorado.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
The Colorado Attorney General recently, appointed a task force to investigate all kinds of allegations against, priests in the Denver Archdiocese, and that investigation is going to be going on for some period of time. But
see, I haven't done it. I have not done anything like that since. Well, we were married in 1980, Betty and I, and a couple of years before that I had not done anything like that.
it sounds like you're admitting that you did those things.
Well, yeah, I did do things that were wrong. I realize that, and it was, why I did, I don't know. It may have been from way back in even from my childhood, and maybe some people had done some things for me too. Which I might have, that's.
I'm sure that's maybe not an easy thing to talk about, but is that something that happened in your childhood?
Pardon me?
Is that something that happened in your childhood?
In my childhood?
Yeah. Yeah. Can you tell me if it was a priest?
Pardon me?
Was it a priest?
No. Well, it could have been. I'm not exactly sure on that. But I'm more sure.
It seems like the biggest.
More sure of a relative. And at the time, I didn't think of it as being very wrong, I think, would be the best way to say it.
Did you come to think of it as wrong at some point?
Yeah, I have, yeah, oh yeah.
Betty, you were going to say something?
Yeah, I was going to say, you were talking about the archdiocese being
Mhm.
involved in it and wanting this and that and talking. And to me, there is no point in that. There's no good can come of it. There's other than people who want to tear down the Catholic Church, the priesthood. Now they're even after the Pope, you know, and that just, I don't know. It just,
I can tell you that I don't feel like that's the reason the people I've talked to are talking to me. I can't speak for everybody, and I'm sure there are people that have a grievance against the church that would like to do something about that. I feel like Michael and Stuart's relatives and a few other men that I've talked to are looking to put this in some place in their own minds that helps them feel better about it. It's things that have bothered them for decades.
yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know, I first met Michael, you know, I didn't know what to think of him the first time I talked to him, but everything he's told me is checked out.
Yeah.
I can't find a single thing he's told me that didn't, in some way, I could corroborate.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously I wasn't there back then to see what happened, but do you remember taking him to Montreal?
Yeah.
And that was in the summer of '67, does that sound right? I know that's a long time ago.
Yeah, I can't tell you exactly when.
And did you fly in your little plane?
Yeah, it wasn't my plane.
Oh,
Charge.
but you flew him out there and a couple other guys too?
Yeah.
So it wasn't your Piper Cub, I guess?
No,
You had a Piper Cub, right?
I did it one time.
Yeah, yeah.
I can't. My health is not well enough to do that anymore.
I understand. So the bottom line is you acknowledge you did this stuff, and if people want to talk to you, you'll talk to them individually, is that?
I think that would be right with me.
Do you think they're owed some kind of an apology?
Oh, I would apologize if they came to talk to me.
I mean, I'm not Catholic, but
Yeah.
they describe, you know, the respect they had for their priest and
No, I know.
that their parents did and
Yeah.
stuff like that, and feel like that was violated.
Yeah, I think it did. I would agree with that. Yeah.
All right. Can I leave you a business card?
Yeah, you give a business card. Yeah.
We're actually going to be in town for a couple days. I could come back if you'd be willing to sit down and really.
I don't see any good that would come from it. That's,
Well, the good might be healing.
yeah,
Might be healing for some of those guys to hear you say it.
healing for me that way, but I don't.
Right.
But I don't think, getting into a newspaper article or a TV thing would, really wouldn't solve my problem.
Yeah.
I pray for him every day. And
Are you still Catholic? Do you mind if I ask?
yeah.
How did you, all of a sudden you appeared here? How did that happen?
I had tried calling a few times, and I wrote the letter, and I hadn't heard back, and we actually had to come to Tucson for another story, and so I thought
You
the
work
best.
for a newspaper, is it?
No, Channel 9 News. I used to work for a newspaper,
Oh.
but now I work for Channel 9 News. But I figured my best approach is always to introduce myself to somebody and try to talk to them person
Yeah.
to person, you know,
Yeah.
and see if they're willing to talk to me. And as long as we were going to be in town for another interview on another story, it seemed like I should come by and knock on your door. And I'm sorry I got your dog all riled up, but
Oh, he gets riled up easy.
yeah. Can you address what Stuart Saki wrote about you? Is he telling the truth in that letter that he wrote?
Yeah, pretty much. He wrote 2 letters. I don't know
Did he send them both to you?
if I did not receive it. He did not send either one to me.
Okay.
I got them from the family. They sent copies of it.
Years later, right?
Yeah.
Because I think he died in 1991 or so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So probably 2002, 3, 4, somewhere along in there
Yeah,
is.
something like that, probably.
Okay.
I had seen him once afterwards. Just happened to run into him at the airport one time, and that was it. And he, you know, I didn't say anything to him about anything, and he didn't say anything to me about anything.
Do you remember running into Michael in Denver at Oktoberfest years later?
No.
He told me
What's
that.
Michael?
Michael Smolanek.
Oh.
Yeah.
So, and I think this really will be my last question. Could you tell me how many boys there were? Do you know?
No.
Do you have an estimate?
Oh, maybe. My guess would be around 8, maybe 9. I mean, it wasn't a real often thing that I was doing. I wasn't doing it a lot of times, I'll put it that way.
Okay. And obviously your wife knows about this.
Yeah.
You said your former life.
Because what?
When Betty asked what this was about, you said it was about your former life, so I assume
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
you told her all about this at some point.
Yeah.
Long ago or recently?
Quite a while ago.
Quite a while ago, yeah.
All right. Yeah, did I give you my card?
Yeah, you did.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you think about it, we're here tomorrow. We come back out. If you maybe talk about it and think about it tonight.
Yeah.
I know that those guys would appreciate hearing it directly from you, but
Yeah, and I think the best way would be to do like Michael did and call me, and
all right. All right. Thank you for your time.
I don't.
You can think about it.
Yeah, I don't.
My
know.
cell phone's on there. You can get a hold of me.
Yeah, I don't. I don't know how I would approach it.
Well, I'd ask you questions and you could answer them or not answer them. I mean, it would be that simple.
Yeah, but I mean, you've done that.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And
It'd be a chance to look into a camera and say whatever you wanted to say for them to see and hear from you.
do what?
It would be a chance for you to look into a camera and say whatever you wanted to say to them and them to hear it directly from you.
Yeah.
Think about it if you would. I'd appreciate that.
I would. I think I'd rather keep it out of the newspapers and the TV and everything else.
Okay, well, we're probably going to do a story. I mean, we're probably going to do a story.
All right.
And that's why I thought it was fair to come and give you a
Okay.
chance to address everything.
Yeah.
So,
And if you use my name, then I would probably think about can't think what the words are now. Depreciation of character type of thing.
you're saying you'd take legal action if we used your name?
I think I would.
Okay.
Because I think, I don't think it is your prerogative to do that,
Well, I'm now trying to figure out what the truth is and
Yeah.
looking for information on behalf of some people that have entrusted me to look into
Yeah.
what they said was, you know, that they had been through and what had been done to them. So that's what I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
And obviously, you know, you're free to approach it however you want to approach it.
Yeah,
I understand that.
I don't think I don't want to really bring more things to our family. You know, we've got 19 grandchildren, and I'm sure a lot of those don't know about all this, and 4 great-grandchildren I know weren't.
Yeah.
And I think...
What?
Do your grandchildren still live in Denver, the Denver area?
Pardon me?
Are your grandchildren living in the Denver area?
Some of them
Yeah,
are.
a few of them.
Some of them
They're
are.
kind of all over the place.
All right.
And they're actually all over the country.
All right. Well, if you would think about it, I'd appreciate it.
Okay.
Can
All
we
right.
stop back tomorrow morning just like this, just to see if you've thought, or
Pardon me?
can we stop back tomorrow morning before we, just to see if you've had some time to think about it?
Yeah, we'll think about it.
Okay.
Okay.
You know, right now, I just, I don't know. I don't know what to do.
Okay.
This is it,
Well, we'll get out of here and you
It's
guys can
worried-
talk and think.
It's worried me all my life, And like I said, I don't think I really realized all the morality of what I was doing, truthfully, from my youth.
Hmm. Yeah.
And I know that, from all the morality and so forth,
Dog go out.
what?
I don't think so.
Dog? Teresa has him.
Oh.
As far as the moral teachings I had in the seminary, I do not recall anything that mentioned anything like this. For one reason or another,
Just wasn't addressed.
Pardon me?
It just wasn't addressed.
Just wasn't addressed as far as I can remember,
So at the time you didn't think it was wrong?
I really don't think I did. And I also was, very, very afraid of confession in the church for one reason or another. I went to. Actually, I confessed these things to some priests, and they, it was just, say 3 Our Fathers and 3 Hail Marys and have a nice day type of thing. And
Do you know which priests those were?
yeah, but I don't want to bring them up. They're dead anyway now. Wants to call me or twice or whoever. I think I could do. About all I could do is what I did with Michael and just say, I'm really, really sorry, and that was.
Okay.
And I should have asked him for, I think I did ask him for, ask him to forgive me. I don't know if he could or not.
I think he'd like to do that. I think he feels like he needs to hear more from you. I don't want to speak for him.
Yeah.
That's for him to decide. But the impression I had in talking to him at great length is that you know, he feels like he needs to hear more from you, and he is interested in the concept of forgiveness and putting it
Yeah.
at peace in his own mind for his own
Yeah.
mental health and well-being going forward. You know, he's 63 or 4 years old now, and he's
Yeah.
still wrestling with this.
Yeah. And I'm really sorry about that. I really am. I just.
You know, the whole thing is going to, I think, come to some kind of resolve now that the Pope is involved in all of this.
We'll see.
No, I
We'll
really
see.
think so. I just think it went on, you know, and it was.
All right, well, I'll tell you what.
You'd never believe how much he suffered.
We'll leave you two alone, and you can think about it and see what you think, all right?
Yeah.
All right.